Hello everyone, welcome to, or welcome back to, as the case might be, YouTube's favorite variety channel. Congratulations on finding it. Today we're cleaning an NES cartridge. We have WCW Wrestling right here. I'll show you why we need to clean it right now. I'll pop it into my test machine. And we're going to switch over to the NES screen that I have ready and waiting. As I push it down and hit start, see blue screen to black screen. Blue screen means that the NES wasn't on. Black screen means that it is, but something's not working properly. So let's switch back over. Take that out. And we'll go through what it takes to clean one of these. It's very simple, actually. The hardest part is tracking down one of these screwdrivers, and even that's not difficult anymore. You can just go on Amazon or eBay. There's no affiliate link in the description. I can't recommend one person or another, but what you're going to find is you'll likely see a set of two. This one was like NES. I think it worked with some Genesis games. This worked better with N64. It's a little bit larger. And then also you might find a kit like this that comes with a bunch of bits. You can see them in there. It's kind of a hassle to get it all out of the bag. I need a tool kit. But basically what you're looking for, if you type in like NES cartridge tool, something like that, you're going to find it. They're not that difficult to find. So the next thing we're going to need, some Flitz metal polish. I've used a bunch. I've also used Brasso, Semperfi. Let me think. There's like another similar to Brasso. It's right next to Brasso at most grocery stores nowadays. But Flitz is the one that I use the most. I use it on my truck. I use it on electronics. I use it just about on everything. A small cotton swab, and obviously a game, something to work on, something to wipe it off with. You might want a buffing towel afterwards. I'll show you why. And also, this is just optional. You may want one of these, either CRC QD electronic cleaner or QD contact cleaner. Either works just fine with Nintendo games. Before you use either of those, you're going to want to read the directions. There are both toxic chemicals, very dangerous to use, but that's neither here nor there. I always start with the middle one, just nothing other than superstition. And you'll find the cheaper screwdrivers here don't have the magnetism, and I'm too lazy to magnetize it myself. So we undo those three, and I'm going to flip it over into my hand, and all three popped out. So we're going to set those off into a safe place here so they don't go hiding or falling anywhere. Pop the back off. You probably didn't see that very well. So you just pop the back off. If you've never done this before, it doesn't require any force. The way the cartridge kind of clips in here, those are just what holds it square. So with the front side facing down, you just kind of lift and pull back, pull up at an angle like that. We're going to set that off. This side's a good place to put your screws if you haven't found a good place already. Now this is the chip. This is the entire game right here. You'll notice, and this is nothing to get freaked out about, not every cartridge is shaped like this. Some are just perfectly rectangular, and you'll pull it out and think, how am I going to get that back in? No worries. There's always going to be a tab. It can only go one way. So that's the way this one goes. We don't really have to worry about it. Set that off to the side. Now we'll look at our pins here. They're not horrible. Let's see the back side. Also not horrible. But what you're going to find from time to time, there's kind of the glimmer. So that part where it's shinier, that's the part where it makes the contact. And then up here where it's darker, that's where it's kind of been corroded over the years. Or tarnished, I guess is a better word. And oftentimes when we do this, you can see a lot of dirt. There we go. At that angle, that's dirt from old pin connectors and whatnot. So that's what we're going to remove right now. So we take our Flitz. We're just going to put a little dot here, a little dot there. Good. Set that off to the side. Now we take our Q-tip. Just going to spread it out a little bit. Not sponsored by Q-tip. This is a cotton swab. Okay, so now we got it spread out just like that. And now just like we're brushing our teeth, light pressure. I like to actually take my hand off the paper towel so it doesn't slide around. It makes my hand feel funny. So just light pressure back and forth. The first couple times you do this, it's going to feel weird. The next 100 times you do it, it'll just be muscle memory. So back and forth. And what you're going to see, I'll show you in a sec, the Flitz is going to turn a different color on the Q-tip. If your pins are really dirty, you're going to see all of this stuff turn like a dark gray. And that's fine. That means it's working. If it doesn't turn that color, it doesn't mean that it's not working. It just means your cartridge was not as dirty as others might have been. So there we go. What was that, about 3 passes? That's probably fine for now. We're going to check in just a second, though. Oh, here, there's... So as I turn it over, that darkness, that's from the chemicals actually working. Okay, great. Now we're going to take our wiping pad, carefully, but not out of fear of any damage, but carefully wiping that away, because what's going to happen is we're going to get some flits that's going to slide up toward the pins, and that's not a big problem. That's why we have the spray. If you don't want to waste your money on that spray, though, you can also get a car detailing brush. An old toothbrush is going to work just fine, and just boom, 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 boom. We're going to wipe that away, and that's fine. If I knew how to do a split screen, we'd split screen it so we can see what the before and after looked like, but it's cleaner. There is still a little bit right there, but that's not going to be a problem. We're going to test it first, because you don't want to overdo it. Remember, these games are like 35, 40 years old, so we don't want to wear down the metal all too much. Now, the backside's going to be just like the front side. We'll speed through this. The great thing about flits, just like with toothpaste, a little bit goes a long way. So now we're going to wipe off this side as well, just as we did the front side. This side's a little easier because the solder points are smooth on this side, whereas the wire ends are on the other side. So that's looking good now. See, there we go. In person, it's going to look a lot shinier than it does while I'm using all these studio lights and everything, but you'll know when you're looking at it. It's going to be night and day difference from what it was just after a little bit of effort. Now, what I was saying before, in this part, you don't really need. Very few people are going to open it up and check your work, but you might want to know about it. We're just going to buff that off for no reason other than attention to detail. So good. That's out of the way. Now, like I said, we're going to test it. So let's get that out of the way. Before we bring our cartridge back over, we do want to make sure that there's no residue on our table. Just like I said before. Now let's see. Oh, it won't fit back in. That's wrong. Just flip it over, relax. Boom, that's going to drop right in. Very nice. Take our back, just like we did before. It's going to come in, just like, let's say we're landing the plane in Top Gun. Boom, boom, boom. Get that in there. Smooth, just like a Top Gun. Now, I'm not going to put the screws back in yet because we're testing it. So back to the test machine. And back to our test machine screen. So remember what we saw before, blue screen to black. Now we should see the opening screen for WCW Wrestling. And here we go. Very nice.
World Championship Wrestling.
Awesome. Now, because I'm using a silly converter, sometimes we're going to see a vertical line. That's nothing other than the converter not being able to downscale NES. I unfortunately sold off a bunch of games thinking that they were wrong. Thinking that they were broken, so I lotted them all up. I didn't know Ric Flair was from Charlotte. And so yeah, I lotted them all up and thought that there was an issue with them, and there was nothing. It was just my converter. So keep that in mind if you're using a converter with 5 points of connection before you make it to your PC. So now, of course, we're going to test it, make sure everything's looking good. So, all right, you can't see me pointing, but those screens those lines right there that we're seeing, that's not the game, that's my converter. Basically, when we're testing, what we're looking for is that the game functions the way we expect it to. There's no missing sectors, so like you don't get the lower left corner of the screen not visible. Also, it's important to look on what would be the background. So like where the fans are, make sure everything there is good. So our testing is complete now. We're pretty much good. Now we can flop that back over, take our 3 screws that we gently set off to the side and drop those back in. 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is probably the most important part. You don't need to over torque these. In fact, you really don't even need them much beyond kind of snug, because what can happen, and I say this out of experience, you're going to tighten it down thinking tighter is better, and then you're going to break one of the little posts that the screw actually goes into. I've done that. It's no fun, and you got to get the epoxy out, and the epoxy makes a mess. So even though I said you don't need them too tight, I always go back through and tempt fate just to make sure. Now we give it a shake. Good, we didn't break anything. Nothing's there. One more time in the machine. It's down, over here, press power, and there we go. First time, every time. I don't know why this wasn't more of a popular game. It is what it is. So that's going to do it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and you'll notice I did not use the electronic cleaner. Basically what that does, instead of perfectly wiping it off, you just spray it on, and then it's very important to make sure that that stuff is completely dry before popping it in, because the electrical connections will be fried. What I often do, and the red one, that this electronic cleaner dries a lot faster than the other, than contact cleaner does, but they both dry pretty fast. Blow on them or use a little bit of compressed air. That's fine. If you have the time, you can just let it sit out for a couple minutes. So that's going to do it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, good jokes and bad jokes, leave those down in the bottom. I appreciate you watching. Peace.